Hello again, Michael Ware with the Iowa Firearms Coalition. We've got our lawyer with us, or one of them, our longstanding attorney and representation, our counsel we've used for a number of years, Bill Gustoff. Hello again. I'm glad to see you.
Good to see you, Michael.
Yes, I wish that was under slightly different circumstances, but here we are, and that's okay. We're going to make the very best of it. I wanted to see if you'd have time. Thank you for coming on today and visiting with everyone about what's going on with this Monroe County lawsuit. If for those of you who aren't aware, in Iowa, Monroe County decided that they were going to sue an individual and also sue the Iowa Firearms Coalition, and we have our legal representation on the matter. They brought in some help and making sure all the bases are covered. I think most people know and understand that, but it's been a while since we had an update, and there's a lot of things flying back and forth. I'll be honest with you, everybody, it's much better that Bill explains what's going on here so that I don't lose something in interpretation or communication. So Bill, can you bring everybody up to speed on where we're at today?
Yeah, so today, June 11th, we had a hearing down in Monroe County at the courthouse in Albia. Al Ostergren, the co-counsel, we brought in. And the reason we brought in co-counsel is, as Michael knows, our practice is focused on things that help with corporate and nonprofit and campaign election sort of stuff. Litigation, not so much. So we got some help there. Al did a good job arguing our case for us today. And when I say our case, it was very limited today. So we were joking before he came on about how many pieces of paper have gone back over. So there have been 26 documents filed in this proceeding so far, and it all started because J.D. Thompson had the audacity to point out to the county board of supervisors that their policy of no guns in the courthouse flies in the face of a law passed by the Iowa legislature, House Bill 2502, passed in the 2020 session, and that they can't do that. And so they tried to say the late Justice Cady had orders about no weapons in courtrooms, and so they're trying to apply it to the whole courthouse. And that's kind of the gist of the crux of their argument is what it boils down to. And so JD, because they had the audacity to ask, and the Iowa Firearms Coalition, because through Mr. Richard Rogers and some others, had the audacity to point out the errors of the ways in the county courthouse. Apparently in Monroe County, simply for asking questions, you can be sued for trying to enforce some sort of policy on them. And so that's how it's got to be. And so today, lots of legal proceeding back and forth. The swift wheels of justice are turning here. Swift in quotes is for the irony of it. And what we had today was the county had filed something called a motion for summary judgment, and we had to answer that, and we filed a resistance to that, and our counter motion for partial summary judgment. And you're going to wonder what that is. So
Tell us, please.
I'll preempt Michael on that. Just say, so a motion for summary judgment is if when the county's trying to say, oh, we filed a case and we've connected the dots so well, and there's just no question of fact here that no trier of fact, a jury or otherwise, could have any question left. So judge, you should just enter a verdict right now, summary judgment in our favor right now. Just say it's over. And we said, well, not so fast. There are some questions of fact and interpretations of law here. And so we resist that, but we also file our counter motion of that, saying, in fact, we think your case is so weak that your case should be dismissed. And so that's really the issue.
I like that one a lot.
Yeah. And so now that's count one of our kind of our answer in our counterclaim, because you might recall Michael and others who've been following it, that we filed a counterclaim in this lawsuit.
Yeah. Not
only saying this is bogus, you can't file this, the state can't try to file a preemptive lawsuit by finding a private citizen to sue them because they don't like the way a state law reads. And so that came up today, but our counterclaims are left untouched yet by this. Though this is retaliatory. It's impinging on First Amendment rights of both J.D. Thompson and of the Iowa Firearms Coalition as a person under the law, and so those still stand. And so what's going to happen now? It might be a week or two. It'll be when the judge decides, right? Rolling my dice and getting out my little 8-ball that I keep on my desk here. It's to ask. I would say probably a week or two that we might see something from the judge, and he could, or I suppose in theory, he could rule in favor of the county and say, yep, there's just absolutely no question here that not only is the law what the county says it is and allows them, if not requires them, to post these signs and forbid guns in the courthouse, but they've named the right parties to do this. I don't see that happening. You can never guarantee anything in litigation, but I will be the first to be totally and utterly astounded if the judge goes that route and enters summary judgment in their favor.
Okay.
I'm shocked if the judge doesn't go to the other end of that and enter summary judgment just in our favor, because that's kind of a bold move too. It's telling the county you're totally off base and there's no question here to be answered. And I think there are questions to be answered. The county probably is entitled to something eventually telling them whether Justice Katie's order that courtrooms, and court spaces can be weapon-free apply to whole courthouses or not. And I think they lose on that argument. That's why we're involved in this sort of thing and how it all came up. But it's possible a judge could rule that way, but I don't think he will. That there's an issue there. So our best case, I think, would be that it could be based on standing, because one of the points that Mr. Ostergen made for us today at the hearing was that even if this is a valid question, these aren't the right parties. The county can't just go find a private citizen and make up a lawsuit because they want to get a question answered on the interpretation of some law. They're taking it up with the legislature, and they just can't be plaintiffs proper. So it's very, very irregular. And that was the point that I think got across as much as. And Judge Yates was the judge doing it. I will say this, my read on Judge Yates is that he understands the issues here. He was asking the right questions. And he was even kind of previewing and asking, even though they weren't issues today, kind of where are you looking to go with this sort of thing? He was asking our side that as to what we're asking for. Questions like, are you saying that Mr. Thompson should be able to bring a gun into this courtroom? No, we're not saying that that's the case. Are you saying under law that you're asking me to declare that he should be able to do that? No. But then we said in the courthouse, should he be able to bring it to the county recorder's office? Yes, that's what we are saying there, unless they're going to put up metal detectors and have security guards and comply with the Iowa code. So that he was asking the right questions. He gets it. That's not a preview of where he's going to go with it, but he at least understands the issues. And I will say he looked a little perplexed, I thought, just like all of us were when we read this lawsuit in the first place, saying, how are these parties defendants in the lawsuit on this question, even if it is a question? So I do think that was a little stymieing to him, so it'll be interesting to see. But it's kind of where we are. I mean, we wish things happened faster, but it's the first volley. The county, as they do, because they have insurance on these things that helps cover expenses, because we named the county as defendants in our counterclaim, they have separate counsel for that. Those folks didn't even show up today because our counterclaim was not at issue. So if we get a summary judgment, the partial one that we want, that for any reason, the basis the judge can find it to say, yes, we think the county brought the suit, it's either a baseless suit or the wrong parties or something like that. If we can get a motion for summary judgment granted that way, they're done. They're just nothing but defendants at that point on our claims that they took action that was retaliatory. So that's kind of where we'd like to see it go, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. What are the questions that we should be asking and answering now, or at least asking?
Oh, what are the questions you should? I thought you were going to tell me. What are the questions you should be asking and answering now? Well, one is
here's what I'm getting at, Bill. What I'm saying to you is, you're in law. I'm not. Most of the people watching this probably are not, and don't only have a cursory understanding of what court looks like and how the proceedings work. So when I say what questions should be asked and answering at this point, what I'm really saying is what things typically happen next. And you've outlined some of that, but what should we be prepared for? You said a week or 2 weeks in terms of timing. How long do things like this sometimes go, or what should we be prepared for?
Well, I suppose it's possible it could take, a month or two or whatever for him to rule. I don't think he'll do that in this case. I don't think it's that complicated, this issue. And then what will happen next is then we'll start turning to what we call discovery, the discovery process in a lawsuit. So depositions, that's the sit down and have interviews with people, recorded and asking questions. We'll have interrogatories, which are the written things where it's just pleadings filed that ask a bunch of different questions. And so it'll be us digging to try to find information and them digging to find information. I don't know what discovery they have to do, but we have lots of discovery we want to do on how we got to this point. And so that'd be the next stage of it. and then there'd be a conference at some point. And I'm not doing litigation. I mean, I have all the ducks in the right row here, but there'd be a scheduling conference where the scheduling conference will say, here's how discovery is going to proceed. Then here's where we're going to have a hearing on this particular thing. So there may be other motions in there, but these things typically, overall, a lawsuit like this will take a year or two to get through that. So one thing is, we'll ask people for patience, but we also ask you to stay engaged, stay plugged in, talk about people that are, to be 2A friendly or even 2A sympathetic, right, on these kinds of things, because this is just a small picture of things to come on this particular law and all kinds of gun issues and all kinds of even issues beyond gun issues. We know where we're going in this country, and we need to put a stop to it. And so it's important that people stay engaged. It's important they support organizations like Iowa Firearms Coalition. There's a shameless plug for my client. It's important though. It's not just money for lawsuits, but all the things that these groups do that put them in the position to be advocating. Richard Rogers was recently down at the Court Avenue District in Des Moines trying to, test the limits of some yet another unconstitutional, I would argue, unconstitutional limitation on gun rights down in the Court Avenue District. So, these people are out there doing this, and sometimes that takes resources and money, but it certainly takes membership. It certainly takes a buzz and people talking about it. So people need to stay engaged and sharing what's going on with their friends.
I agree. Okay, those are the things that I was hoping that we could cover and bring everybody up to speed on. We're getting lots of correspondence that basically says, you can't leave us hanging. We don't know what's going on, and my response has been, well, I'm not entirely sure I know what's going on either, because this process is not a quick one. And each day, I mean, like you remarked earlier, 26 pieces of paper have been filed or passed back and forth. Well, to me, that sounds like a lot, but when you work in law, I mean, this is just part of it. And these are the things that you go through and what gets done, and this gets done, and then this gets done in response. And then, oh, by the way, we're going to do the same thing, and then they're going to do something in response. And it takes a while. It takes manpower, and it also takes money. So I'm not afraid at this point to ask people for donations if they're able to help. That means a lot. You can go to IFC's website, and right there, iowafc.org. You can become a member. We certainly appreciate that the most. If you're able to donate, there's a tab there to do that kind of thing, where you go to the membership portal and offer money or help. And we also appreciate people's engagement beyond just this. We really need people to not only become members, but to volunteer for the organization itself. We've got a lot of how do I put this? There's a lot of plates spinning at any given moment, probably more than people realize. Events going on here, gun shows going on there. There's a machine gun shoot coming up almost immediately at the Ankeny Ikes. We need people to help man those booths and take care of those tables. So, it is, Bill. Having us been with you rather than you with us, it's the other way around, us being with you for a lot of years, you have a glimpse of, not everybody does, about how many things that we're doing and what's really going on. So it takes people to do that in a volunteer organization. So every little bit that people can offer helps, and I'm no longer bashful about asking for that. So, and I think that's appropriate.
The old saying, many hands make for light work, right?
Oh, you're right. Yes, no doubt. Okay, again, Bill Gustoff, thank you for your time today. Thank you for being our counsel and representing us so well. Thanks, Al. I'm sure he's going to see this very soon. We're glad that we're with you guys and that you're with us and we can partner on this. I continue to feel terrible for JD. Yeah. It's one thing for an organization to get attacked. It's another for a gentleman to be singled out right in his own community for doing nothing more than asking and encouraging somebody at a government level to follow the law. And then in response to telling them to please and respectfully follow the law, you get sued because you had the audacity, not on the Second Amendment grounds so much as the First Amendment grounds of saying, oh, by the way, this is illegal and you shouldn't do it. We're going to sue you for that. So I'm still really, really worked up about the implications of this and how the power of government can be used to squash you like a bug. And I'm really fired up about it. And I hope that everybody else sees it for what it is, because this is an injustice that should be righted, no question. And I want it write it thoroughly and convincingly, you know.
You make a great point there. While this may have started as a Second Amendment issue, the lawsuit is not a Second Amendment issue. It's a First Amendment issue. I try to, for those who can't get beyond guns, right, that don't necessarily drink our Kool-Aid, I try to use that in analyses like, well, this would be like J.D. Thompson noticing that there wasn't a wheelchair accessible doorway there and writing saying, hey, I think you violate the Americans with Disabilities Act, and they sue him for it. So it's,
yes,
pick your issue. It doesn't matter. It was a citizen pointing out that they weren't complying with the law, and he got sued for it. So if you don't like guns, pick your liberal law that you don't like.
Yeah.
Say they weren't complying with it. Everybody, regardless of politics, should be chilled by the fact that a private citizen got sued for simply asking about a law not being followed.
And then this isn't a case where, this isn't a scenario where somebody's really inappropriate and writes something awful on social media that's disparaging or pejorative or something nasty. This is a respectful, follow the rules plea to say, listen, you appear to be in violation of the law. I wish you weren't. And then the response is nope, shut up, and we're going to go ahead and sue you to keep you quiet. That's as bad as it gets.
Yep, I agree.
All right. If we go any further, I'm going to devolve. I'm going to get.
Yeah, we'll go on and on if we don't stop this. So.
All right. So again, Bill, thank you very much. Michael with the Iowa Firearms Coalition, please become members and support us. We really need it. So does JD. So does Iowa. So thank you, everyone.